Started up. But thank you guys. Appreciate y'all coming in. And we know next time if we do this to not tell y'all to get here so early. I know some of y'all been here for a while, so I appreciate the patience. But just want to first introduce myself. My name is Morgan O'Mara, and I'm with State Employees Credit Union. And I manage the branch over off of Regency Drive. And one of the reasons why we are doing this event is because we have seen over the years, and I know we got a lot of other financial institutions here have seen the same thing. It's just an increase in scams and fraud. I mean, it's so much so that it's no lie, on a daily basis, we're constantly seeing some type of fraud or scam, anything along those lines. And so it's really, a few years ago, Lisa, what's that? What? Is it, can y'all not hear me? Okay. They can try to. Yeah. Okay. I'll try to speak as loud as I can. But what was I saying? Lisa, am I good? Is that better? All right, let's put it right here. Is that better? Yeah, all right. So Lisa Moss, I don't know if she's in here right now. A lot of y'all know her. She also works at the branch with me. Her and I had talked about for a number of years of like offering some big type of scam awareness or fraud awareness event in the community just to hope bring more awareness, but never really had the ability or to get things going. EK, who is up here, I think he's helping trying to figure this out. He is a detective with the police department, but we'll introduce them all here in a minute. There's EK. Him and I were working on a case together. I like saying we're working on a case together. It makes me feel like I'm a policeman or something. But we were working on this case together and got to know each other a little bit better. And it started talking about this, like, man, this is crazy. He's seeing it too. We're seeing it. We should do something. And he said that we should do something for the community and bring awareness. And I was like, yeah, absolutely. We've been thinking about doing that. I've been talking about this. So this is the second year we've done it. Last year it was a little bit smaller. And our hope and plan is to keep growing this and keep offering it. Maybe not do the same boring thing every year, but just try to mix it up, bring in new people and everything along those lines. And so this year we're setting this up kind of like a little bit of a panel discussion. The one thing that I'll just ask is please try to hold off on questions during all this. At the very end, we're going to do like a question and answer session. And then we got this building all day long. So y'all afterwards, you can come up one-on-one and talk to us. We'll be here. We have outside those tables, if you hadn't seen it, there's a number of different financial institutions that are in Clayton. We kind of all join forces to, if you're not a member of the credit union and you bank with someone else, that you go talk to them, and they got information as well. But yeah, we'll be here all day if you need it, if you need us. So let me introduce the panel. Oh, one other thing I'll say is that if y'all need to use the restroom, just walk out this door straight ahead and you'll run into it. This might last about 2 hours, so you will not hurt my feelings if you got to stand up and go leave. Even if you have to leave for the day or you're just tired of hearing me blabber on, you can leave. You won't hurt my feelings. But yeah, I'll introduce the panel. Y'all, if you want to say who you are, where you work at, how you're involved in scams. Stacy, you want to start?
Okay, sure.
Yeah.
My name is Stacy Farrell. I work for the State Employees Credit Union. I'm the Financial Exploitation Prevention Manager. It's a mouthful. We support all of our branches when our members are involved in scams or have been scammed. So we unfortunately have to deal with this all of the time. So Any questions that you have about common scams, we're going to get to a lot of that, but I'll be glad to talk with anybody after as well.
My name is Camille Coulet. I work at the Clayton Police Department. I've been here for 4 years now. I'm one of the investigators, and I've been doing that for about 3 years. Before I came into investigation, this gentleman right here, Patrick Malone, he's been doing it for many years now, and he was my model. So he's here. If there's any question, it's something that I can answer, he's here to support and try to answer all the questions. We work a lot of these fraud cases in conjunction with federal agencies, FBI, IRS, Secret Service, the ones that we can't do here in Clayton. We try to have them help us. And so I'm looking forward to answer some of the questions that you might have.
I'm John Mack. I'm the IT director here for the town of Clayton. I've been in IT for, going on 20 years, so I don't directly work on scams like the financial institutions or the police department, but I do deal with some technology type scams, phishing attacks every day, so I've got a lot of experience with that.
And we're really hoping to get this slide pulled up. So you might see Darby and John kind of running up here while we're doing this. But if y'all could just give us 1 minute here. Where's the dude? The guy. Yeah. Yeah. Never fails. This thing was working for like 2 hours and then stopped right when we started using it. Just good. Anybody else need a folder? It should be. Usually we counsel. The town just did redo this, a lot of the technology in this room. So we're the first ones to try this out. So it's learning for everybody.
Well, none of the power. None of the power. Just the spin. I mean, I don't think it's mine because it's not like it works on Awesome, thank you.
All right.
Yay.
Sorry.
That thing is touchy. Every move you make, it cuts it off the screen. Yeah. I'm like, there you go. There we go. No, why is it showing that? Can we go back? There we go.
All right. It helps having the IT guy on our panel. We would not be where we are without him. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do is I'm going to just go over kind of a high level of a lot of the common scams that we see. And so again, just hitting just the high points on this, just to kind of give a big overview. We're going to get into the meat of all these scams when we get into talking and interrogating the panel. I get to interrogate a police officer today. I'm pretty excited. So the first, probably the most common scam that we see a lot is the sweetheart scams, the romance scams. I mean, basically, these are very common when folks meet each other online through random text messages. They go from meeting to being married and in love in 2 seconds. And these folks are real good at what they do and convince you to fall in love with them and convince you to send them money. Everybody here knows somebody that was affected by one of these, I'm guessing. So that's probably the most common. The other scams, they all kind of we call them bad news scams. These are all the ones that you receive bad news. So IRS, you owe money to the IRS, you better pay us, we're going to come and arrest you. Social Security, you missed jury duty, we're going to come arrest you for that too unless you pay a fee. Imposter scams is just when folks are pretending to be police or financial institution, and again, back to money, convince you to send money to them. There's the kidnap, ransom, the grandparent scams. These are all kind of where you get a phone call that your grandson or your child might have been kidnapped. Or with the grandparent scam, your child might be at spring break and got into an accident or something, and it's not really your child or grandchild that's calling, but they convince you that they need bail money or they need you to pay some sort of lawyer fee, something along those lines. So then there's the good news scams, right? You won the lottery, you won sweepstakes, free vacation, prize, rebate. All you need to do is just pay the taxes and you'll get millions of dollars. See this one a lot too. Yeah, if it's too good to be true, it's not the case. Then you got the tech support scams. These are a lot of them. I know y'all probably see these too. A lot of pop-ups, phone calls stating that there's some sort of issue with your device. Giving remote access. My own mom fell for that one. She had a pop-up on her computer, and it was asking her, saying that there's an issue with your computer, and the screen kind of went weird, and it was call this number, and she did it, and they walked her through on how to get it fixed, but what she was doing was giving them access to her computer. And then they started asking her to send money through gift cards and all this stuff, and that's when she realized it was a scam. The charity scams. This one is basically fake charities. They contact you or you see it online or somehow you get in touch with these folks and they're just trying to get you to donate to the charity. And it sounds good, but it's fake. The home repairs, these are more like in person. So it might be someone coming to your door telling you to get solar panels for your house, telling you that you got some shingles missing on your roof or something wrong with your house, and they say, we're here, we're just coming along, noticed it, we'll be happy to fix it for you. Or it could be that you maybe contact some shady contractor and they're saying that they can do all this remodeling for you. All you got to do is just pay $10,000 up front and then they walk away. So, or they just do a very horrible job and it all starts falling apart. A lot of these scams, this one, and including a lot of the past ones, is that they really pressure you. It's just kind of like if you ever get that and you feel pressured, that's a red flag. They're saying you got to do this, hurry, hurry, quick. Your whole roof's about to fall off unless I save you, type thing. Rental scams. So a lot of these are just fake ads, or they might be real rental listings for like a vacation home or a home, and it might be a real listing. They just went in there and changed contact information. So when you reach out, you're talking to someone else, and they get you set up and take your first month's deposit and then walk away. And they're never there. If it sounds real good to be true, you know, really good deal, too good to pass it up, that type of thing. So then there's the family fraud, and unfortunately we see this one a whole lot as well. These are where it's your own family members, kids, grandkids, brothers, sisters, whoever it is, cousins, that takes advantage of you. A lot of this goes into, which you'll probably hear a lot of, like elder abuse. We're not going to dive a whole lot into elder abuse today, just because that is a whole nother thing that we could talk about all day long. But this is just where they take advantage of you. And it could be where there's maybe some sort of cognitive decline that can happen to any of us, and then they just swindle their way in to take all your money. So what we're going to do, y'all met the panel. And so again, I'm going to just drill them with these hard questions. So don't make it hard. No, I'm kidding. I'm not going to make it hard for them. But we'll go ahead and get started. So after talking about this, Stacy, I'll start with you. Talking about these scams in your line of work, what do you see most common, and is there any story that you'd like to share on it?
Yeah, I would say there's two that ring the most bell for me as far as the largest monetary loss that we see. And that would be first, tech support scams. We're seeing a huge increase in the amount of money people are losing for these scams. These often come up, and I actually had it happen to me. This is the line of work I'm in, and it's shocking to see on your computer, it popped up. You do not turn your computer off. You know, it's all these flashing, scary things. And it even said something about pornography. And I'm like, oh gosh, this is my work computer. What am I going to do? So of course I shut my computer down and turned it off and called our support department. So just warning, if you see anything like that, don't react, calm down, pause. What happens is folks then click on it or call the phone number that's there, and they get to the scammers. So Microsoft, any of those companies are never going to call you or have a pop-up like that. So just know it's not legitimate. When they get to the scammer, they give the scammer access to their computer. So then they have everything on their computer. They can lock everything down. Oftentimes they'll have the person log into their online banking. So then they have passwords. And then they start with the fear tactics. We've had a lot recently who transfer people to the fraud department within, they think they're calling their financial institution's fraud department. They even give an employee number. That person convinces them to go withdraw the money from their institution, and what we see so commonly now is to deposit it into a cryptocurrency ATM. So I don't know if any of you've seen those in the gas stations. Never put money in a cryptocurrency ATM. That's almost always a scam. Another big one is gift cards. If they ask you to purchase gift cards and then read the numbers off the back of them, that is a scam. So there's a lot of threats, and the thing that I see is they really instruct the people not to be open with their financial institution. So we may see red flags and say, has somebody asked you to send money? And they don't tell us the truth. So we're really working to help get to the bottom of it, to know that it's a scam, but they're told by the scammers not to say anything. So that's just one tip, is to open up with your financial institution and really be honest, and we can help get to the bottom of the scam. The second one is the romance scam, like Morgan mentioned. And I would say it's not even just romance. So it could be a dating website. It could be Facebook. It could be Words with Friends. It could be any of those social media likes. Sometimes it's famous celebrity imposters who are pretending to be celebrities and have a relationship with you. Bottom line is, if they start asking you for money, it's a scam. Don't send any money to those folks. And just talk to somebody that you trust, talk to your financial institution. just to limit those types of scams.
All right, thank you. John, same question. What do you commonly see? Any
So-
stories you can share too?
Yeah, so from my perspective, we see a lot of phishing emails. So basically, it's fake emails that appear to come from some legitimate organization, maybe a bank, credit card company. And typically, you can detect a phishing scam because there's some misspelled words in there. The sender address is coming from a Gmail account when it's saying it's from PNC or from MasterCard. So some of those things are kind of quick flags that you can tell that it's probably not real. Also, typically your financial institution's not going to send you an email and ask for personal information, and so we do see a lot of those. Most of the financial ones, actually a story that I've had, entity I work for, one of the finance team did receive an email from a company that they worked with, and it was, so they were already caught off guard. They were already used to dealing with this company, and the company's email actually got hacked. So it looked like it actually came from said company, and they asked to change their bank account information online. The person that received the email, they didn't suspect anything. They went ahead and updated the account information and deposited some funds into the scam account, a lot of money. Luckily, I think they were able to get most of that back, but it definitely went on for a while, and it caused more financial headache trying to get to the bottom of it. So that's just one example. You probably get these emails every day in your inbox, and so my advice is just to make sure that you read, make sure you're looking at the words, and like we were discussing, don't react. Think about it, calm down. The best thing is to try to think critically when you're dealing with these things.
All right, thank you. So Detective EK, he's had a rough morning this morning. He had his car broken into, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. But, so I won't be too hard on you. So one of the biggest questions that we get a lot is, who are these scammers? Money mules, we hear that term a lot. Can you explain like who these scammers are and what is a money mule?
Yes, so scammers, it's just a basic term that everybody is using now because it's very popular. Anybody can identify or understand it. But really, they are criminals. That's who they are. They are criminals. And most of the time, it's not just one person who is sitting in the room somewhere doing this. It's a huge organized crime group. Most of the time, not from this country. And so what they do is, you've heard them talk about romance scam and all this stuff. What they do is there's somebody who's the big guy who also recruited people. Like if you've been in the military or any of paramilitary organizations, there's a chain of command. Somebody who is probably, I would say, a captain has, lieutenants. And the lieutenant has sergeants, and the sergeant has little people. So what they do is, you work for me, so you're trying to scam 5 people today, and then you have X amount of money that you're going to get paid, and they work hard. So you might get emails and text messages, and you might think, oh, this guy loves me. Oh, he texts me 10 times a day. Oh, he has time for me. No, he's getting paid. So that's how it gets started. And then initially when they start, they use you spend your own money. And then when they figure out that they've used you don't have any more money, then you become what we call money mule. Because at that point, they've had you open an account and you use your money to send them through that account. So what they do is, now you have become the co-worker. So they'll scam somebody else and they'll ask them to send money to you. And they'll be telling that somebody else, oh, they love them too. They'll be saying the same story. But now they tell them that you are a friend of them, a friend of theirs, and they're going to send money to that person is going to send money to you for you to send to them. And so the middle person has become a money mule. Basically, the money comes through you, and it's just to hide the origin of that money, and it makes it harder on the law enforcement to find out who they are. So if you are talking to somebody and they're making all these times for you, they're sweet talking you, they're doing all this stuff, basically they are prepping you. After they finish taking everything from you, you're going to become basically like a water hose. The money is going through. You know, they get it from somebody and it just goes through you and it goes to somebody else. And you're not going to be the only person. When we go through all this stuff, we start tracing crypto, for example. Like yesterday, I was doing an investigation and I found, you know, I just put in one number, the wallet, and it gives me, in like 1 second, it gave me like 44 transactions in 1 minute. So 44 transactions happened, like the person deposited $10,000, and in 1 day, that $10,000 went through 44 different transactions. So that means it went through 44 different money mules. And so to answer your question, that's a money mule. After they've used you, and they now tell you, oh, go open a bank account. Or, you know, I'm gonna have if somebody wants to pay me, I'm gonna have them send money to you or wire money to you so you can wire it to me. Now you've become a money man.
So a lot of these victims that get caught up in scams, a lot of them are money mules, right?
Yes,
they just
sir.
don't know it.
Yes, they are money mule. If somebody ever called you, say, hey, can you open a bank account? I'm going to send you a check for you to deposit for me. Or I'm going to have a friend of mine wire you money or send you crypto or whatever. You are a money mule.
So what if can these money mules, I mean, even if they don't really know what they're doing, can they get into legal trouble?
Absolutely. Absolutely. The federal government has passed a law where we can kind of target, you know, these scams because, I mean, if you look online, you know, in 1 year, the amount of money that they take from people is huge. So we try not to jump on money mules to charge them, but really, you know, I don't know, or I didn't know the law is not a defense in a court of law. Whether you knew or not, if you go out there, you start speeding, you can't, if you get caught by a cop, you can't say, well, I didn't know, because you knew that you're not supposed to speed. So you can really get in some serious trouble. We're talking about 15 to 20 years in federal prison.
Well, that's something that I don't think a lot of people completely understand, because I know we see at the credit union, we see a lot of people that get caught up in these scams. And I mean, EK, where's this money, like the money that goes to these scammers, what are they doing with it?
So I'll give you an example. I worked a case where the victim, who was a money mule, was believed that she was talking to 50 Cent. The rapper, right? And she is a money mule. The money went through her, through crypto, and then I traced the crypto. In 1 day, the money ended up in Nigeria. And when I looked up the guy, I got his Instagram account, and I looked at him. This guy's living like a king. He has all kinds of cars, like something that I probably wouldn't even get a chance to touch in my life. So he's living this luxury life, having this lady send him all her money and now funneling money through her. So these people are using you, and they're building mansions. They are having all the famous women in the world. They're living life that you and I are probably dreaming, but probably not going to get it.
There's a lot. Does it go to like terrorism or anything like that?
Yes. So another thing is, I worked another investigation where the money went, I traced the crypto again. The money went from North Carolina to Nigeria. And then the money was withdrawn in Naira, which is Nigerian's currency, and then ended up in Turkey. Everybody knows what kind of country Turkey is. Turkey is not a friend of the United States, right? And to all these countries that support terrorism, around the world. So you might be sending your money to a terrorist organization that might be, kind of making some kind of plot against the United States. So if you get charged with, financing terrorism, you're most likely going to die in jail. Because, you're paying somebody who's going to buy guns, buy bombs, and then come destroy us. And I don't think the federal government is going to give you a pass on that.
Yeah. Well, that's, what about, so another term, money laundering. Can you explain what money laundering is?
Yes. So I'm going to read the textbook of what the statute says, but then I'll tell you what it is. The money laundering is the process of illegally concealing the origin of the money obtained from illicit activities such as drug trafficking, corruption, embezzlement, gambling. So basically, the power to lend money is for financial institutions, right? If you're not a financial institution, you can't give out a loan to people. So the idea that people can just send money to other people, it has to be a gift. But if I was a drug trafficker, by now you'll figure out that I'm not a drug trafficker. But if I was a drug trafficker and I make a lot of money, drug traffickers know that if they get caught, the federal government is going to take all their money, right? So what they do is they create shell accounts, or they put the money into the money into their grandma's account or something like that. So if you're doing any kind of illegal activity and you're transferring the money from one place to another to conceal your illegal activity, then you are a suspect, or you are a suspect of money laundering. And not only you're a suspect of money laundering, when we get to federal statutes, you'll be charged with wire fraud, bank fraud. All this stuff. At least 15 years in prison for each one of them. So, it may be that you're not necessarily doing anything illegal, but if I was doing something illegal and I was sending you the money, then you've also participated in the crime. So whether you knew or not, again, it's not a defense in the court of law.
Okay. Well, thank you. So I'll let you have a break. You can and I know this screen's acting up, but if you look over here, it's the same thing. So I mentioned earlier about how a lot of these scammers are very forceful. They use a lot of different scare tactics to kind of to convince you to do what they want you to do. Stacy, what are some of those scare tactics that you can think of?
Yep, they use threats. So I know we mentioned like the IRS scams or jury duty. So you may get a call and they threaten that the police are going to come arrest you because you haven't shown up for jury duty. There may be some sort of family crisis. They may threaten you with what they have on your computer. So with a tech support scam, they may say, oh, we have, information from your computer. If you don't go pay immediately, you're going to be arrested. There's always high pressure language and urgency. And sometimes it's even maybe not a threat, but a fear of missing out. So if it's an investment scam, there's going to be an unusually high return on your money, and you have to go act very quickly. Just one kind of tip I would suggest is don't answer any phone calls that you don't know who it is. So if you've got caller ID and you don't know the person that's on the screen, just ignore that call. Because once you've engaged with them, it's really hard to stop engaging with them. And once they get their hooks into you, it's really hard to stop. You can also block phone numbers. You can go and add yourself to the do not call registry. You may be able to work with your phone carrier to eliminate some of those robocalls and things like that. Again, it's always a time crunch and a pressure. If you don't go do this right now, something bad is going to happen. You're going to lose all of your money. One big thing we're seeing a lot, like I mentioned earlier, is your funds in your bank are not safe. You need to go withdraw the money in cash and put it in an ATM, a cryptocurrency ATM. We can all right now say that doesn't make any sense, right? But when you're under that crunch and under that scare tactic and you think your money is going to be gone, we could see how you could easily fall for those things. So just calm down, listen, don't feel the pressure, and talk to somebody.
Well, John, what about from like an IT standpoint? What are some of the scare tactics you see?
So IT standpoint, a lot of ransomware where they'll encrypt your data on your computer and then basically just hold it hostage until you pay some exorbitant fee to unencrypt the data. And a lot of those rings are run by legitimate, like EK was kind of talking about the rings that they're a legit, in their country or wherever they're working, they're a legitimate business, so they're getting paid, an hourly rate. That's their job. And you'll be asked to pay a whole bunch of money. A lot of similar tactics, sense of urgency. Your computer has a virus to get you to allow them access to your computer. And sometimes the only thing that they want is access to your computer, because then they can use your computer to do other mischievous deeds. They'll play on human emotion, get family members involved. Everybody's susceptible to emotional tactics. We're all human. So if they get you scared or worried or fearful, it'll definitely make you react in a non-critical way. So again, the best thing to do is to kind of calm down and try to think critically about these situations and not, and not allow your emotions to dictate what you're going to do.
Thank you. So, Stacy, you mentioned the cryptocurrency earlier. So, I mean, obviously, that's one way that the scammers want you to pay. I mean, you want to elaborate on that or any other ways?
So I'd say the most common, first attempt is going to be to ask for payment through gift card. So especially any of the smaller scams, they're going to test you out and ask you to, if you miss jury duty, okay, you have to go pay $500. Go buy an Apple or iTunes gift card and read the number off of the back. And the reason they do that is it's not traceable. They aren't going to be the money is going to be sucked off immediately. There's no way you can get it back from your financial institution because you willingly purchased the gift card. We have people that go sometimes to Target and buy $5,000 worth of gift cards and then read the numbers off the back. Happens all the time. So that's the number one, I would say. That's a testing out. And then if it's a sweetheart scam, for instance, they maybe needed that money to get to you. There's going to be another story. There's always another story for why they need more money. So then it may move on to a wire transfer. They ask you to wire money to somebody, not to them, but to a third party. Because they need money for an attorney, or there's always a big story about why the money is needed, but you're never sending money to the person you're talking to. It's always to a third party, which goes back to that money laundering and money muling. Hopefully your financial institution can catch that and talk to you about wire transfers. We're seeing less and less of that because we're stopping those wires because we're seeing that it's fraud. The biggest hot topic, like I said, now is cryptocurrency ATMs. So the scammers I'm not exactly sure how it works, but they'll send you sometimes a QR code or their handle on cryptocurrency, and they say, go send the money, withdraw the money in cash, take the cash and put it into the cryptocurrency ATM. And then I'll come visit you, or whatever the scam may be. Well, that money is pretty much immediately gone, and it's hard to trace because it passes hand to hand to hand. We have seen people lose their life savings this way, and it's really hard to get that any money back. Mailing cash, if anybody ever asks you to mail cash, that's a scam. MoneyGram is a big one as well. I would just say the bottom line is never send money to somebody that you don't know. If a government agency or the IRS or somebody is saying to send money one of these ways, it is 100% a scam. So if you ever have questions, talk to somebody you trust, talk to your financial institution. But the bottom line is, if they're asking for money, it's probably a scam.
And a lot of those crypto ATMs, they're in our gas stations, right, EK? Aren't they all around?
Yes, they are all around Clayton, and there are different companies, different exchange you know, BTM Express, Bitcoin Depot, Coin Flip. They're all different entities, but whenever you put the money into the ATM, the money is gone. Basically, what they do is they'll send you a QR code, and so that's what they call a wallet. So when you, before you can do anything, you go out there, you got to put your phone number and all that stuff, and then you scan that QR code. So when you put the money in, that goes onto that wallet. That's their wallet. And on the machine, it clearly says, do not send any money to somebody else. Send it to only your personal wallet. So when you get there, I would even say, don't do it. Like, learn to be greedy with your money, because you've worked hard for it. You know, I don't care if they're your kids, your grandkids. They need to come and get it. If they really need the money, they need to come and get the money. Don't send your money to anybody, especially through crypto. It's very, very, very hard to do anything with it. I mean, it's doable. We're doing it, but it's very hard.
All right. So a lot of the, big questions too that we get is how to prevent being a victim of a scam. So what, Stacey, I'll go back to you. How can you prevent being a victim?
Again, number one, don't answer the phone if you don't know who's calling you. Slow down. Don't react so quickly. If it sounds too good to be true, it probably is. So, it could be with money muling a lot, we see like work from home jobs, or somebody was mentioning earlier, wrapping your car, let me send you this check and you can deposit it into your account and then send the money on to me and keep a little bit for yourself. So that's illegal. So if it sounds too good to be true in any realm, then it probably is. Slow down. Does it make sense? Research what you're doing. I'm sure there's plenty of ways to protect yourself, technologically as well.
And that's the one thing I know I'll say too, is that, because we see this all the time, again, at the branch, is folks freak out and they don't talk to anybody. And I was talking to somebody earlier today talking about how, they were scammed but didn't tell their kids, and that's common. They're embarrassed. They're afraid that their kids are going to say, Mom, Dad, what are you doing? And they don't want to go through that mess. You don't have to talk to your kids. If you don't feel that comfortable, go talk to your local financial institution. Go talk to your police department, because they will get you and help clarify it. That's the biggest thing, is just stop whatever it is and go talk to somebody. We try to, highlight that a lot. But sorry, John, so from an IT side, what can you do to prevent being taken advantage of and being a victim?
So make sure that your computers are updated, all the security patches, apps on your phone, those count as well. Make sure your phone's operating systems are updated. Again, make sure you have antivirus, anti-malware installed on your computer. Make sure that is regularly updated. You can in the event that you do get some virus on there and you're unsure, take it to somebody, take it to a professional to clean it. You know what I mean? Don't just live with it. You know what I'm saying? Because the longer it's on there, the worse things can become. But again, most importantly, if you're involved in a scam, is try to take a step back and realize that maybe this isn't real. I need to slow down. I need to use some critical thinking here and not fall for it, which is easier said than done. But
so one of the questions I got earlier today was, and I don't know if you can answer a couple answers, but what's a popular antivirus computer software?
Yeah. There's hundreds out there. You've got Norton, which is a popular one. You've got some lesser known ones, like Avast is a pretty powerful one that not a lot of people know about. FortiClient. I would stay away from one of the big names is Kaspersky. It's run by a Russian company. I would probably stay away from that. McAfee is another one that's pretty popular and usually loaded on most new computers when you purchase them. And then a nice anti-malware tool is Malwarebytes, which can be downloaded. There's a free version. You can also pay for it. The paid for version, you can actually schedule scans on it, so it'll almost be like you can kind of set it and forget it. It'll update itself. It'll scan. It'll alert you if something's detected. So.
Okay. Well, good. Well, so, I mean, let's keep going with you with technology. What's some of the technology that these scammers use to take advantage of you?
So they some of the skimmers and NFC readers that they use. A skimmer is basically a device that they install on a credit card reader. So when you're going to the gas station, and I think there's a picture in your pamphlet of it. They'll usually take 3D printed piece of plastic with a reader in it, and they'll slip it over the real credit card reader. So you'll go ahead and slide your card in. You'll pay for your transaction, but your credit card information is also being read off of that. NFC or your, you can pay for stuff with your Apple Pay and it's basically just a contactless payment. So your credit cards all have NFC chips in them now, where you can just kind of tap so the NFC readers are designed just to read that information. Even if your credit card is in your wallet, somebody could come up to your wallet and just tap it real quick and get your credit card information. So they do make wallets that block that NFC signal. And then as far as the skimmers go, you can check the device before you actually insert your card, make sure it hasn't been tampered with, shop at a legitimate merchant. Don't go, to some, Wild Bill's gas station. And then you can also, there's a ton, but, I had mentioned before, make sure your computers are updated, your apps are updated. Sometimes we had talked about phone calls. So these scammers can actually spoof phone numbers. So sometimes they do look like legitimate phone numbers, but once you start talking to them, you might be able to recognize, all right, this doesn't quite seem right. So if you ever get that feeling, just say, okay, well, I'm going to hang up now. I'm going to go ahead and call the institution. If I have a credit card and you have a credit card with that company, or you bank with that company, it's okay to hang up and then call them back. Go look up the real number online, call them back and talk with them like that. Sometimes they can scam a number that might be in your contact list. So that is a little bit harder to detect. But if Jim is calling you and it's not Jim on the phone, it's probably not Jim. So just remember that as well. They can use, deep fake ads, which is kind of a new technology where these ads look like, legitimate people. A lot of it is on social media, where you'll see a product being sold, and it looks like, Matthew McConaughey is selling this product, but it's not really Matthew McConaughey. So you go ahead and you buy some diet pill or something that's not legitimate. You know what I mean? So those are going to get really hard to detect too, as the technology gets improved.
And I could tell you, when we met about this meeting to kind of get everything, we were talking about deep fake ads, and I was like, deep fake ads? I kind of knew what it was, but I hadn't heard that term, deep fake ad.
Yeah.
I Googled it, and yeah, it's pretty crazy that they could make on the computer, they can make somebody look like someone else. And it's really good. I saw some Russian ad that had Bruce Willis on it, and on YouTube I was watching it, and it looked like Bruce Willis in this ad, and it wasn't him at all. They just did it all on the computer.
And they're going to start using those in like a political platform too, to sway people's opinions one way or another. So again, it's going to be hard to detect, but you just got to try to use your best judgment, think critically about it. We've already talked about phishing attacks. State Employees Credit Union is never going to send you an email from a Gmail account. You know what I mean? So just always try to look at that sender email. Don't download attachments that are in those emails. Don't click on links that are in those emails, because all of those attachments and those links could lead you to a malicious website or have some malicious content in the attachment. Even if it looks like a Word document, it can be a piece of malware, or it can be a virus. And then ransomware is another one. So we talked about this again. Make sure your operating systems are updated. Make sure that you've use the caution when opening those links. Make sure you've got an antivirus. We just kind of gave you a list of some. There's plenty more out there. Those aren't always, they're not the only ones. So, I mean, if you talk to a friend or a family member and they suggest one, as long as you've got something reputable on your computer that's scanning on a regular basis and staying updated, it's not going to keep you 100% safe, but it's definitely better than not having anything on there at all. So you want to make sure you do that.
All right, thank you. So Stacy, what is a good way for somebody to stay up to date on the scams?
There are several resources. The Federal Trade Commission is probably my favorite. You can go onto their website, ftc.gov. You can sign up for alerts, so you can put your email address in there and they'll send you, it's not too often, but maybe weekly, some common scams that we're seeing. There's a lot of great resources out there too. So if you ever think, is this legit? You could just type that in and maybe find some resources about that type of scam. AARP is also a great resource. They have a fraud watch network. So they have little short videos about different common frauds that are happening. You can sign up for alerts with them as well. The CFPB also has some good information. One thing I wanted to mention that I didn't kind of adds on to this, I think you mentioned smishing, which is another kind of word that's kind of strange. But we see this a lot. I heard this on a fraud call with the credit union. People are getting text messages and it may say from State Employees Credit Union and it says your card has been used for $5,000. Well, we don't send text messages like that, but there's what is in that text message is a URL. So you'll click on that and then it'll start asking you to enter either your credit card information or your sign-on information, and then your information is exposed. I've gotten them also from Amazon. Around Christmas time, I got them from the Postal Service. Your package can't be delivered. So anytime you get one of those texts, just again, pause and realize that it's probably not legitimate.
Okay, good. And I know one thing I'll throw in there, somebody, I was trying to remember who it was that told me, they were talking about how their mom keeps getting scammed. And it's because everything that she sees online that looks interesting and she wants to buy, she goes ahead and buys it. And it's always just from some scammer, some ad on the side of a web page or something along those lines. And she keeps telling her mom, stay away from those. If you want something, just stick to Amazon, you know? So that's something I just wanted to throw in there. But so if someone does get scammed, and we get this question a lot, what do they do? I mean, EK kind of like what resources do they have? What would the police do if they come to you?
So if you find yourself in that situation, it's not, don't be embarrassed about it. They talked about resources. You can always go to the Clayton Police Department's website, and we have all the resources listed on there for you to go through. And I will share this with you. Last month, I received a report. I mean, if you go online, you file a report for any fraud activity, it comes back to law enforcement. So I received a report from Consumer Protection Agency. It was a doctor. So this story is just to tell you that you should not be embarrassed if you become a victim of a scam. Remember, I said there are criminals, so anybody can be a victim of a crime, right? So, well, I was a victim this morning because criminals broke into my work car. So if they can be bold enough to break into a police vehicle, then you know they're targeting everybody. So a report came and it was filed by a doctor. He lost over $1 million. $1 million, 1 and 6 zeros. And the bad thing is he was married, so he was talking to this female who he believed that he was dating. So he was, not only he was embarrassed, he couldn't even say it out loud because he couldn't. And on the report, there's a box that said, what do you want to see happen with this case? And he said, well, I just want her to to be caught so that she can do this to somebody else. He doesn't even want the police to investigate it because for us to investigate, we have to come to his house and talk to him, and then his wife is going to find out about it, right? So if somebody who's gone to school years, 7, 8 years of college and residency and all this stuff, and he's a victim, I mean, anybody can, right? Because when you go to the doctor, you trust these people with your health because they're smart. Not everybody gets to be a doctor. So if you are a victim, just share it with somebody. Call the police. Come to us. It may be hard, but we can still try. I can't talk about ongoing investigations, but if you follow the news, you know that the town of Clayton was the victim last year. And I mean, we jump in, we do what we can, and I can tell you stories after stories, how many times we were able to recover money back for people. If you call right away, we can jump on it. There are ways to recover money back for you. It's not guaranteed, but we can try. But time is of the essence. If you get scammed today, we need to know today so we can get on the ball. But if you wait a month from now, then the money is probably gone. I mean, we're running behind the 8 ball. It's already gone, right? So just try your best. If you become a victim, and if you don't want to talk to your family about it, go to your bank, talk to them, because they have no interest in your money. Those are people, that's all they do every day. They look at hundreds of bank accounts every day. They don't even remember how much money you have after you leave. So you need to go to talk to them, and most likely they'll call us. Or go to the police. I mean, we get paid, through taxpayers. We work for you. Come to us. We will do our best. I mean, we're not going to guarantee, but, we will sit here all day for me to tell you stories of how many times people came to us and we were able to recover money. It might not be all of it, but something's better than nothing. So, there are websites that we can help you. If we can do it here in Clayton, like I say, I work closely with federal agencies, there are websites where you can go on and file a report, and the federal agencies are there to just track that and track the account that the money went into and try to recover the money for you. But you have to take action before we can help you.
And that IC3 report, or website, that's a good one for that. Right?
Yes. So IC3 report is a very good tool. So the FBI has a department that's over that section, and if you file a report, it's not just for scam, for any online, somebody's harassing you online, somebody threatening you online, you can go there and file a report, and I have access to it. All I have to do is type your name into it, and then I'll find your report. But that anybody can do it for you. If you call me today, you say, hey, I just sent $100,000 to somebody. It's a lot of money. So all I do is I enter your information, everything that you told me in there, and the FBI monitors this. So they have people who are looking at this all day long, and they can kind of go in and track that money to see if they can seize any money in the account that the money went into and return it for you eventually. But you got to take action. You got to call us. You got to come to us. We're not going to know unless you tell us.
So, Stacy, what do financial institutions, or what does the credit union do if a member comes to them or comes to the credit union and has been a victim? What do we do?
Well, we would, of course, if you're admitted that you've been a victim, is that what you mean?
Yeah.
You already know that you've been scammed. We would encourage you to treat it as identity theft. A lot of times, when you've been scammed, you've given personal information, your social security number, driver's license, date of birth. So the scammers potentially have a lot of your personal information. So you would want to go out to the different credit bureaus. You can actually run a credit report every year for free on annualcreditreport.com. And then as long as everything looks good, you can freeze your credit. So then nobody can go out and take new loans out in your name. of course, depending on the situation, we would look and see if there's anything we could do as far as filing a dispute. But a lot of times, like we talked about before, if you're willingly buying these gift cards or sending this money through cash, there's nothing that we could do to help you recoup any of that money. We really want people just to know that the main thing we're looking out for is to protect them and their money. That's the only thing that we have in mind. So just trust your financial institution to be on your side as far as whether something is legitimate or not.
All right, and John, from what kind of tech resources can they go to?
So if you want to kind of be updated on any new security threats out there, CISA.gov is a good one, CISA. Some of it's some boring read, but I mean, it's very educational. I love it. But you can also do antiphishing.org. So if you are a victim of maybe a phish, you can report some of that stuff to those organizations. Identitytheft.gov is another good one if you're a victim of identity theft. And one thing that I really want to say, and I meant to say it earlier, if everybody's using social media or Facebook, that kind of thing, a lot of information can be pulled from that. So you need to, number one, make sure your profiles are secure. Make sure you're limiting the amount of information that you're sharing on those profiles. And then when you see posts that are asking for, hey, what state did you grow up in? Or what's your favorite pet's name? You have to realize those are all the answers to those security questions that you use when you go to protect your account. So when you're posting those answers, they're collecting that information on you. So it's not legitimate. I've had to tell my mother hundreds of times not to answer those. So I know how it is. So just be wary when you're using those types of things. And I wanted to mention that before, just because that's pretty important. A lot of people are using social media now, so make sure your accounts are protected, your passwords are protected, that kind of thing.
Yeah, and I know I'll throw out one thing is so when I was trying to get the word out about this event, and I posted on my Facebook, and it was my son's best friend's mother reached out to me, and she said, hey, this is what I do for a living. She works for Secretary of State, and she's like, I can get you all the information you need. And she kind of pointed out one recent kind of, I guess, newer scam that's popping up more. It's you getting a random text on your phone that's to the wrong number. So it might say, hey, thanks for reaching out to me. You get a random text. It might say, thanks for reaching out to me. It's tough having this loss in my life. And you look at it and say, I think you got the wrong number. And you start feeling bad for them. And they start talking to you and saying, oh, I'm so sorry to bother you. I sent this to the wrong person. Yeah, I just lost my son, or something along those lines. And you feel bad. And you become friends. And then you end up falling in love with them and sending them all your money. So that's kind of it's been happening more and more. But the one thing, all y'all have those packets in front of you. A lot of this information, including these last two slides, are in the packets. We just want to give you as much information as you can, as we can get you, just so that you have it. Feel free to share this information too. And I know, us do, and I'm sure a lot of the financial institutions will be more than happy to talk to you any other time that you want. We'll go out and if you got a local group, organization, or anything. I mean, we went to a little local book club at the library and talked about this stuff. So if you have that, please reach out to one of us. Y'all saw, again, those tables out there. If you want to talk one-on-one after we're done, come talk to us. And any other questions that you have or anything along these lines. And so I wanted to give y'all an opportunity to ask these folks questions. And we'll use this as the mic. So do any of y'all have any questions that you want to ask this panel? Anything that you want to discuss? Yes, ma'am. I'm going to come running over to you so people can hear you.
Something more recently I heard about is whitewashing checks, and us boomers still write checks on occasion. Can you kind of go over that and the consequences?
Yeah, what is washing chips?
Whitewashing checks.
So she was asking, what is whitewashing checks? Were they?
Yeah, if you're,
Alert.
I'm not as familiar with that, but some of our branch folks may see it more, but when you get, you want to?
Hi, I'm Lisa Smith with First Citizens. Yes, we are seeing a resurgence. We are seeing a resurgence of whitewashing checks. We'll say during the pandemic, someone broke into the Clayton post office blue box out front and stole a lot of checks out of there. So what happens when you whitewash a check? They will change the dollar amount or who the check is paid to. I realize a lot of people don't write checks anymore, but there's a good portion who still do. And this is on the rise. We thought it would kind of go by the wayside, but in fact it's increased. So you might want to think about doing something other than writing a check, because anytime you write a check, you have got your bank information on there and anybody can steal that. So a good recommendation we have is to have 3 credit cards, right? Don't use your debit card because that's attached to your cash, your hard-earned money. Have your bills paid with a credit card that might earn you rewards of some kind, okay? Have that drafted that way. The other credit card you would have for your everyday purchases. And then the other credit card you would lock in a drawer in case something happens to the other two, because it will. Just a good rule of thumb. The thing to do, though, is just to pay those cards off every week or every month so that you don't get interest. So try to avoid writing a check if you can. Look at your bank statement very carefully. If you see anything unusual, like, wait a minute, I didn't write the check for that amount, or that's not who I wrote that check to. You can get images of your checks in your statement. So just review those very carefully, but it still happens. And I would just caution you to maybe change how you do things. I mean, if you think about it, 100 years ago, the way to drive or the way to get around was horse and buggy, right? And now it's a car. Well, things with technology have changed so much, we kind of have to change our mindset about how we pay our bills and how we get our cash and stuff like that. So just think about that. That's a very good question, ma'am, because we do see it quite a bit.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, that's true. I'd say personally, I don't write checks at all. And if I do have to get a check, then I usually just get a cashier's check and send it off that way. And she's right. It's good to have a backup plan. So when you have like a card that's compromised or anything, you got something else that you can go to.
And I hate to tell y'all this too, cashier check fraud is on the rise as well.
Yeah.
So that can happen also. So just be very careful with that.
Yeah. Yes, ma'am.
I've noticed certain like small businesses will charge for credit cards. So what do you recommend if you have a big bill such as a car repair and they're charging you? Do you pay with cash?
So she's asking if a lot of businesses, you're seeing like a surcharge if you use a credit card, and they're asking you to pay with cash. Is it okay to do that?
Or if you usually pay with check.
Or can you pay with check?
She's saying not to use a check.
Yeah.
So how do you?
Well, and I could tell you that, I'll answer this unless y'all want to chime in, or any of y'all want to chime in, but everything has some layer of risk to it, right? And it's going to be, if you just forget everything and just keep a lot of cash on you, well, what's the risk of that? If you lose that cash, it's gone. The credit cards could be compromised. Things can be, your card number can be stolen. There's a risk in that. Checks, like we just talked about, information can be stolen off that. So there is going to be a layer of risk there. Credit cards tend to be a safer route, just because you can easily cancel your card. You can easily, there's protection with Visa that you can typically be able to get your money back easier than if you did cash or check or wire or anything along those lines. And so I'd say but if just look at the risk. If it's a very large purchase, just talk to them about it and see what you think it feels best. You can go talk to your financial institution if you want to see what they have to say. Yeah.
My daughter had a big car repair, and they were going to charge 3 or 4% for a credit card.
Yeah. Yeah, that's becoming normal. And I won't lie, I pay cash for stuff, save some money. So, I mean.
Hey, Morgan, let me answer those two questions. So it's okay if you write a check and you are giving it to somebody. You know that person. You hand them the check. You know who they are. If something happens, we can always go back to that person. If you write a check and you want to post it, you know, all these blue boxes, don't go out there. Go inside the post office and hand it to them. It's the most safe place you can be. But if you put it outside anywhere, we get people who come from all over, and they have, you know, crowbar, whatever. They prop that thing open. They collect all the checks, and what they do is they will white out your name and they will replace their name with your name, and then they'll go cash it. And it just remember, when you write a check, it's on you. It's on your bank. So if you write a check and I steal your check and I put my name on there, if I'm able to cash it, it's still going to clear your bank. So just be mindful. If you're going to mail a check somewhere, go inside the post office and hand it to the worker there, and make sure that they put it in the bin, whatever. Don't put it in the blue box outside, because I'll tell you, we have a federal case going on right now. Early this year, we had people from Fayetteville that came around, you know, from Fayetteville to Smithfield, Clayton, Raleigh, all over, and they cashed hundreds of checks, and a lot of people lost money. So be mindful of that. Another thing is, you know, car break-ins. So if you go places and you go to daycare centers, you go to park to walk and all this stuff, and you leave your purse in your car. I tell my wife all the time, and she gets mad. I'm like, you don't see what I see every day. So if you go to these places and you leave your purse in your car, in that purse you have your checkbook, you have your ID, you have everything that they need, everything, your whole life. So what they do is they smash your window, they grab that bag, and they're gone. They're gonna start writing checks. They'll go to, it's what we call felony lending. They'll go through the bank, the far land. They'll wear a wig, makeup, try to look like you. And I mean, if they're able to get $5,000, they're just trying their luck. If they're lucky, they get some money. Good. If they don't get anything, they keep on going, and I can assure you they get something. Otherwise, they won't be doing it. So, you know, if you go to these places, you go out to walk and stuff like that, I would say just carry your ID. Leave your Social Security card, your checkbook, leave all that stuff home. And certainly, if you park somewhere, hide your purse. Put it in your trunk or something, because what they do is they look. If there's nothing there, they keep on going. But if they see your purse, they're gonna smash your window, and it's a case that's very, very hard to work. And even if they don't get any money out of your account, you still got to fix your car. So it's something to think about.
Yeah, they hit up parks, gyms, places like that, like the community centers, places where people more than likely leave their purse or their wallet in the car while they're in exercising or doing something with sports. So, any other questions? Yes, ma'am.
So, is it not safe to order from what you believe is a reputable company online? Because I got scammed like that.
So if you didn't hear, is it not safe to order from a reputable company online? She had been scammed by a situation like that. So could you want to share any more detail of like how?
Well, I did it with the debit card to pay. And she said, oh, it didn't go through. I said, well, I think maybe you should run it again. Well, I'm thinking that's a reputable company. Well, it's supposed to be. And she ran it again, but I never got the merchandise, but there was a big charge on my account.
Okay. So, did y'all hear that? So she was talking to someone that worked for the company, and they said the card was declined, and she asked them to run it again. The charge did go through her account. She never got the merchandise, and she ended up having to file a dispute, right? So how can she avoid situations like that?
Well, if they say your card didn't go through, usually, I mean, if you know you have money in your account, but they're telling you the card declined, it should be a red flag. Hey, let me stop right here. You know, maybe check your bank again before the merchandise is not going to leave. It's going to be there. You know, take a step back, check with your bank, see what's going on. Like, you know, one time I was in Texas and I made a purchase, and, you know, state employees called me and say, "Hey, are you in Texas? Oh, somebody's trying to use your car." I said, "Oh yeah, it's me." Go back and unlock it for me. You know, things like that could happen, but if it happens, just stop for a minute. That merchandise is always going to be there. And I mean, if it happens, call your bank, and I'm sure you can file a dispute. Then call us. Then we'll try to do what we can do for you.
And I have a small business, and what I advise people to do to avoid that is I pay a lot of things online with PayPal. PayPal will secure your transactions. If you buy with PayPal and you see you didn't get the merchandise, or they send you something that they didn't describe properly, PayPal will investigate it and they will refund you your money.
I had a bad PayPal. It charged me 3 times for one item. 3 times.
Well, PayPal wouldn't charge you, as the person that you purchased it from is who charged you. But another thing is, like, I was scammed by someone that attacked my Walmart account. And the credit union is who told me that what I was not supposed to do. I didn't even do anything with Walmart. Something mailed to my house. I have a crafting business, and somebody mailed shirts to my house, and I didn't order the shirts. So I like, where did these shirts come from? So then I went on my Walmart.com. I was like, I didn't order these shirts. Next thing I know, I get a charge on my account. Someone ordered a few hammocks, but they had the hammocks sent somewhere else on the coast to the beach. So now I'm going and I'm checking, and I call Walmart and I'm like, what is this? So then I called the credit union, and the rep I got told me the same thing happened to her. She said, do not leave your credit cards on Walmart.com. I didn't even know that Walmart.com saves every credit card you've used from day one. And when I went there I've been using Walmart.com from like back in 1990 something. They had every credit card on there. And I had to go and delete every single one. So now it was identity theft. Because what the cop came to my house and told me was, these people, they go and they order stuff and they have it shipped to an abandoned house. And they have the item shipped to that abandoned house. They wait for the UPS or whoever to deliver it. Then they go to that house, get that package, and move on. But then from then, I froze my credit. I bought a package for my identity, and I freeze my credit. And now when I get my credit run, I have to go and thaw my credit for someone to run it to protect myself.
Can I add something to that real
Yeah,
quick?
go ahead.
So if you are shopping online, you know, everybody pretty much does nowadays. You kind of have to. It's very important to make sure that you're not using the same password for every account, and you're also updating that password on a regular basis. You don't want to keep the same password. You want to make sure it's a secure password. Yes, a secure password is harder to remember. In that case, you can get yourself some kind of password keeper. They make apps for iPhone, for Android, where you can have one master password and keep all your subsequent passwords in there secure. check your accounts on a regular basis too. Check your bank account, check your credit card account, check your Walmart, your Amazon. Make sure that there's, get in the habit of doing that regularly, weekly. You know what I mean? And definitely make sure you update your passwords on anywhere from a 90 to 120 day cycle, and just to keep those secure. Because a lot of those events happen because your account honestly may have gotten hacked. Your password stolen, and then they were able to, because all your credit cards were stored right in that portal, they were able to just grab that information very easily. So, just a good way to keep yourself a little bit safer.
Yeah, I can tell you, kind of piggyback off that, is whenever a company gets hacked into, let's say it's Yahoo, they hack into it and they steal everybody's account, username and password. Well, they take that information and through computers, run it through a lot of common sites. So run it through Walmart.com, Amazon, PayPal, anything like that, and they'll be able to get hits to see which one of those same user ID and password works on those other sites. Now they got access to that too, and then they'll do what they can.
Well, I know Morgan called me just a few weeks ago, I think. I've been scammed quite a bit. And most of them that they brought up today, I could relate to every one of them. These are the credit cards that I've had replaced within a week and a half. And some of them are repeats. If you click into a site online, they know who you are right away. And they will buy something, they will put something on your credit card, then it has to be replaced. I've replaced I don't know how many from different places. I have turned in 2 police reports, one for $1,500 and one for $7,000. I did not have the money for either one, so I put it on a credit card so I could pay. I knew the debt was mine, even though they had scammed me. I'm not proud of this. I've done a lot of stupid things, and I live alone, so I feel like they kind of come in and hold on to people that they know have lost their spouse, or that they do live alone. And in just the last, since Christmas, I went to visit my daughter for Christmas. And she asked me what my passcode was, and she does that every time I go. And I figured, okay, I'll tell her, and then I'll change it as soon as I tell her. Well, I didn't change it until we got back home. So don't think that your children will not do things that are evil to you. I had papers served on me about 4 weeks ago by both of my children. My attorney, they had to pay for my attorney. I'm still dealing with it. He came and met with me for 2 hours. He took a report and he said, "You are welcome to change to an attorney that you want." And I said, "Oh, no, no, no. I'm going to keep you because you're young and I believe you're more up on things." But I kept him because they have to pay for my attorney. If I had picked another attorney, I would have had to pay for him. I left there. We went to court, just the first phase. They did not make a decision on what was going on. They were served papers on me for financially and for incompetence. I ended up having to have a social worker to come and interview me at my home, which was there about 2 hours. I had to go yesterday, and I was tested by a psychologist for 2.5 hours. The decision still has not been made of what they're going to do with this case. But I've got to go back to court again once the social services gets all of this combined into their record. And then the judge and the attorneys will make a decision on if I went out or they went out. Now, they're scared that I'm going to lose my home because I've been scammed so much. They've never made a payment on my home. My husband died 10 years ago. I've had my home refinanced twice. He pulled me into a bankruptcy right before he died. I did very well picking up. I never lived alone. I learned how to pay bills and everything on my own. And then I started getting scammed. It can happen to you. I never dreamed my children would do something like this to me. My daughter was in the lead of it. She worked with the FBI. She worked with CCBI. She worked with the Marshal Service, and she was a magistrate for 10 years in Wake County. So she knew everything she had to do. She was the advocate for court on her side. She's the one that read off stuff about me. And then my lawyer had already turned my information over to the judge. And the first thing she said to me, thank goodness I got a nice judge. She said, I want to let you know that my heart goes out to seniors that people are trying to take advantage of. She said, it doesn't matter if it's family or what. My son had already told me, you're going to lose your house and you're going to become homeless. And when you do, I'm going to come and try to find you and bring you some food. I said, well, don't worry, because I need to lose weight anyway. And, of course, we passed some ugly words to each other. He has not been to my house since then. He did call me one time and asked me if I was doing okay. I said, I'm fine. I said, but let me ask you a question. Did you sign that warrant willfully, or did your sister drag you into it? No, he signed it willfully. I said, well, I tell you what, I'll see you in court. And I hung up and I haven't heard from him since. My daughter has sent texts since then, and she'll say, checking on you, we love you. Are you okay? And I just put, I'm fine. She knows I'm not going to talk to her until this court situation is over. And I'm going to tell you, it has really drawn a wedge in our family. My sister is infuriated with this. So am I. I could sit and talk to my daughter, but with her having all the law enforcement that she has, she will treat me almost like I'm her criminal. And I said, you wait a minute. I'm your mother, whether you like it or not. And you're not going to speak to me that way. But she got mad because I got caught up in a scam. I had met a guy on a dating site. And, of course, the picture he sent was fabulous. He was very good looking, young, and I knew he was too young for me. And I said, you're too young for me. No, So he wrote me a very nice biography of his family. So I wrote him back and I said, well, my biography is not going to be quite as nice as yours because I lived in a broken home. And after he read it, all he said was, wow. I never heard, we Skyped to each other for 1.5 years. And he asked me to send him a cell phone, which I did. He did not pay for it. He has not mailed it back to me. But he called me one time. That was the only time I'd ever heard his voice. And when he talked, I said, Daniel, what country are you from? And he hung up. He came in later and Skyped me and said, I'm sorry you found out. He even had I did away with my Skype account, but he even contacted me by text message about 4 weeks ago. Wanted to make sure I was okay. I said, well, you're not even supposed to be contacting me. We called it quits. He said, well, I wanted to check on you, and also I need $50,000. I said, I don't have that kind of money. I've never made that kind of money. I said, you better go to your family and let them help you. He said, my family cannot do it. I said, well, I can't either. He ended up talking very ugly to me, and I said, this situation is over. Don't call me. Don't text me. Don't do anything with me anymore. I said, I am very disappointed in you. For 1.5 years, we Skyped. We never talked. We just typed back and forth to each other. And he was always very nice to me for 1.5 years. And then when all this started, it was bam. I can get money out of you. So be careful.
Well, thanks for sharing that. That's not a lot of folks share that, but her story is very common. We see these things a lot, and and so, yeah, thank you for sharing that information. Yeah, come on here. Boy. And two, if we're going to have some more food out here in a little bit too, if y'all want to go get some.
I had a quick question for anyone that's fortunate enough to have a lot of equity in their home or own their own home. Commercials on television a whole lot about people taking over your property, companies like Home Title Lock offering a service. Is this something that y'all see happening, especially from a law enforcement side? And are these, would you recommend, if you're fortunate enough to own your home or have a lot of equity in your home, someone taking your identity and then trying to take your home? Or these companies like Home Title Lock and these, is that something we need to look into or you can enlighten us on?
Now that they're able to get your title to your home.
Right.
Yeah.
I would say we don't see that quite often. Obviously, you have expectation of privacy in your home. Nobody can take over your home. Usually, if that's happening, a family member has to play into it. Even if somebody stole your identity, they're probably going to take out personal loans, other loans that usually they don't have to go into the bank to do. Because if you went into state employees or Bank of America trying to get a loan, they're gonna ask you to show your ID and all that stuff. Usually, they use one of those off the wall banks that online. They don't have to prove anything. But to take home equity and all that stuff, it's a little bit hard to do, with somebody else's identity, unless, like I said, there's a family member getting involved in it. And I don't think anybody can go in and take your deeds of your home or any of that stuff. Or even if somebody came to your house, say, "Oh, I'm the owner of the house," I don't even see that happening. If somebody will push you out of your home, it would be something fake if somebody was telling you that.
TV I'm also say you need to sign up for home title lock. My question was happening a lot. It's dealing with these companies and supposedly protecting identity theft and someone coming in and title to your home, and then obviously they don't want the home, they want the money they can get from the home, take a second mortgage on the home, that might be.
So you're asking, like, is it worth doing the title lock, like hiring a company like that?
Right.
Right.
Yeah. No, I've not seen anything like that in my career. Have you seen any? Yeah, it's not common. Like I said, the ad has to be fake, or I don't even see that happening, because if you buy a home, for your deed to be recorded, you have to have a lawyer. You don't have to, but if you have a lawyer, you have to sign out a bunch of paperwork, and then they have to record it with the county. And I mean, you can pull that online. It'll be hard for somebody, even if they stole your paperwork for the home, they won't be able to have access to your title anyways.
Yeah, and I'll add is that he's right. I mean, you rarely see anything like that. The closest I ever saw was, and it involved a family member. It was a daughter convinced her mom to sell her home, move her into this dumpy trailer, and she sold the home, and the daughter took the money and basically disappeared. And so usually it's something along those lines. It's just, watch out for your kids and grandkids. Did you have a question?
Yeah. Yeah, I had a question, but first just a comment on the whitewashing of checks. I think it was on AARP's website. If you use a gel pen, they cannot whitewash gel pen. Do you know if that's true? And my question is, for door-to-door people who come around, whether we're working on a house down the street, we've got extra blacktop, we've got extra roofing, whatever. If you have a no soliciting sign, does that actually prevent anything? Do the police take notice of that, or what? Is it effective?
Is that effective? No soliciting sign?
Yes, I mean, if you have no soliciting sign and they still come into your door, yes, you can call us. And I mean, it's clearly you've given them a notice. It's almost like if you have no trespassing sign, that's your first notice to protect your home. And if they ignore that, then they're in violation of the law. But if you live in a subdivision, I'll give an example of Riverwood, for example. If you live in a subdivision and it has, and you have that sign, no soliciting sign posted, at the entrance of your neighborhood, we have a process where, legitimate sellers can get a pass and they can go into the neighborhood to sell stuff. But they are to keep the badge visible for everybody to see that they have, authorization to go to the neighborhood. But if you just have a John Doe just walking around doing all this stuff, I would tell them, look, I don't care what you're selling, just leave. And if they refuse to leave, I will close the door and call the police on them.
But talking about taking people's homes, we had this company to send us the whole application, everything that you would do when you buy a home. And all we had to do was sign it. And if we signed it, we were signing our house away. This happened a couple of years ago. But thank God, I read a lot. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, and y'all can add to this, is that there's a lot of scammers out there. They're good at what they do, and there's a lot of things that might send in the mail. And there might not even be scammers, just shady companies. There's some folks out there that when we see like these high interest rate loans, that all you gotta do is sign the back of the check, and you're stuck in that. A lot of people don't know what they're signing, and it's kind of like what that paperwork you might get. If you get paperwork and you didn't ask for it, don't fill anything out. Go talk to someone about it.
I go down and attach all of my receipts. If I see anything out of the ordinary, I call it. There is always someone questions, and I call and say, look,
Yeah, that's good. That's definitely do that. Look at your accounts. If you see anything that's unusual, go talk to your financial institution, call that company that charged you, and you should, and hopefully try to get your money back.
I have a question. How safe is Zelle and Venmo? How safe are those two things? Like a lot of times you'll get someplace and you want to buy something and it's a Venmo account, or and I know Zelle is on our PNC type of thing. How safe are those two things?
I mean, I use Venmo, and I feel like Venmo might be backed by PayPal. But I don't know all the Zelle I've never used. I do use Venmo, and you can review your transactions in Venmo. So if there's anything out of the question or anything questionable, you can contact them, and I'm pretty sure that they'll help you out. But as far as Zelle, I've never used it. I don't know. I've never really had the need to use it. But anything you're going to use caution. You know what I'm saying? Don't just arbitrarily pay somebody because they, and definitely review whatever transactions may have taken place. So if it's not something you did, then you definitely want to notify them immediately. But I don't have all the details on what they'll, offer you in the event that something does happen.
So to add to that, Venmo, Zelle, Cash App, all those are money MSPs, money service businesses. So what they do is they're like a middleman. Like if I want to send you money, then, I send it through them. They keep your bank information, and it just goes through them. They are required by law to keep record. Even PayPal, they do a very good job. When, you report something to us, we send them orders, court orders, and they have to comply. And usually they give us good information. It might take a couple times because like Zelle, for example, like I said, they're a middleman, so they can give us the bank that the money went to, and then we will have to subpoena that bank. And we usually get good information. But the point is, the person behind that bank is probably not in North Carolina, certainly, or maybe not in this country. So then I don't have jurisdiction to charge somebody in Nigeria. You see what I'm saying? So that's where we get, a lot of issues from. But from what I know, as far as law enforcement standpoint, Venmo is good. They cooperate with us. Zelle is good. Cash App, I don't even use Cash App. I do this every day for a living. If I don't use it, it should be a red flag, right? So Cash App, they won't even comply with us. So, that's your answer right there.
And I could say from like a financial institution side of it is that think of those real similar to cash. It's kind of like cash, wires, Venmo, Cash App, those type of places. Like once the money's gone, it's hard to get that back. Very hard if you try to dispute it.
I was going to say one thing that happened to me, those little seminars you come in here with, have a free dinner and listen to financial advice. Yeah. I did that and filled out some information. Then I went home and he came by the house to talk to me about it. And he said, well, if you decide to do this, he was trying to sell me one of those. And that's usually the case. They try to sell you something in their investment plan. They're really not going to take care of you for years, checking back every year, see how you're doing. They took my, he asked me to go ahead and fill out everything. And then if I changed my mind, if I wanted to do it, let him know. Well, so I did everything. I even signed it, which was stupid. Next time I got my bank statement, that account the money in there was gone. He had gone ahead. Well, he did invest it in what do you call them that they like to invest with?
Some sort of investment.
It was an investment.
Stocks or whatever.
And I got my money back because I took it out of there after a short while, but it just bugged me that I signed that and he knew I wasn't supposed to be taking it yet. I wasn't. He hadn't called me back and he just took the money out. So after that, I changed the rest of my account numbers and at the credit union.
Yeah, and that's what, if you couldn't hear that, she was asking about the, the type of places where they'll feed you a dinner. You just come listen to them talk, and then they'll get you to sign up for something. So if I start getting y'all to sign up for something tonight, it's a scam. But it's a lot of those might not be a scam, but it might not be the best financial route, or it might be something that's overpriced. You just have to be cautious on what you do. I know I remember talking to a lady who came in and had her estate plan documents all done, and it was one of those where it was a legit estate plan attorney. He invited her and her husband to dinner and with another group, and then they kind of got coerced to set up this $5,000 estate plan. And when I saw that estate plan, I was like, man, we could have done that for $475 or $425. And I told her that, and her mouth about dropped open. I was like, yeah, that's nothing fancy. So that's kind of the thing. You just want to make sure you're not getting taken advantage of because they'll do it.
They're basically watch and talk. They don't ever mind contacting them.
Well, we're going to keep doing this for like maybe 5-10 more minutes. If you do need to get up, I know it's been a long time in here. We do have food out there. We're going to be here all day, so you're more than welcome to hang out.
One thing that happened with my husband, he received a text message or email from Sam's Club. It looked very legitimate.
Yeah.
Best thing you can do is click on the email, the from email, to display who that sender really is. Because most cases, it's not going to say, if it's a spoof, it's not going to say the company .com or .org or something. It's going to be a person with a Gmail account.
Yeah. That's true. Did y'all want to add anything onto that? I mean, she was just talking about how the spam emails that you get of how the domain name might be different slightly.
Yeah, slightly misspelled. So if you're reading it, it may look it may match a little bit. Something you can always do if you get a spam text or a spam email is you can report it as well. It's always a good idea to do that. Right click the email, report as junk. You have the ability to report junk on your iPhone, so text messages that might come in. Another thing is look out for those tiny URLs, a link. They'll shrink that link down so you can't really read where that link is directing you to, but typically on your computer you can hover over that link without clicking it. Mind you, don't click the link, but you can hover it over and it'll tell you where it's actually destined for. So if you get an email from Sam's Club and it's taking you to some random website, it is not legitimate. You don't click on it, just report it as spam, delete it, don't respond to it. And clicking on the email from will display who it's actually the sender, yeah. And there's other methods that I'm not going to get into, but yeah, you can, that's the easiest.
Well, we'll do one more question for the panel. Does anybody else have a question? Yeah. Is there anything y'all wanted to add?
Yeah, I want to add something on that email, that stuff that he just talked about. That's really, for us, that's a signal that we're dealing with a big organized crime group. When we get business email compromise, that's what we call it, business email compromise. So if my email ends with, nc.org, for example, they would just change the C to V or something, just change one letter, and that changes the whole domain. And because people are so used to it, they don't check it letter for letter, so you just go with it. And usually that's a sign that it is a big organized group behind that. And usually they get a lot of money. I mean, when I see that, I'm like, ooh, I'm about to see a lot of zeros. So just make sure you read the email, take time to read it, because if not, they're about to start talking about hundreds of thousands. So.
Well, one more. No, you're good. Yeah.
You had mentioned the password keeper. Tell us more about that.
So they're just applications. I use a free version that I've used for years, and I trust it. It's called KeePass, KeePass. But the problem with that is I know what I'm doing, so I know where to download it from. So it's not something that I would probably, there's some paid versions that you can get, some apps. I forgot one. What
about like the Apple, where you save like Apple or Microsoft?
Yeah, what is it? Yeah. Okay. Yeah, you can use Apple Notes and lock that down with a password. But the key with the password keeper is you'll have like one main password that you'll use, and then you can list all. So basically I have hundreds of passwords. I know none of them. You know what I mean? Because they're all in my password keeper. They're all different. So I always recommend using some form of that. That way you don't have to write it down anywhere, keep it under your keyboard, that kind of thing. And then another thing I want to add with the passwords is every institution pretty much now offers multi-factor authentication, where you can use your cell phone number to get a text when you try to log into the app. Anywhere available, use that. Sign up for it. If it's an Microsoft makes a Microsoft Authenticator app for both Android and iPhone, and you can basically hook that up with just about any account, and it'll notify you when either somebody tries to log in using your account. So if you're not sitting at your computer and you get a notification or a text saying, hey, this person tried to log into your account, it's not you, don't approve it. You know what I mean? But it also adds another layer of security. In the event that you do get a password compromise, they'd still need to know that that other factor in order to gain access to your account. So, but.
Just a quick follow on to that. Someone from our fraud department mentioned, so the credit union has a one-time passcode, which is exactly that. So we're seeing our members who are dealing with scams provide the scammers their one-time passcode. So never provide your one-time passcode member access, user ID and password, any of that to scammers. Does that cover?
Yeah, that's the biggest scam that we're having is where members will receive a phone call or a text message from the credit union. We do call out. We do send text messages, but there's stipulations to those. They'll receive this text. They'll say, hey, we'll send you a one-time passcode. We need that code. That text will literally say, do not share this code. You know, credit union won't ask for this, you know, it big bold. And then members are still providing that to what they think is the credit union or the fraud department. And that is allowing access to these scammers to put their phones into mobile wallets to use physically in different states, different locations, and they're just using their phone as a pay feature. So they're just taking money because that our system doesn't stop that as much because it reads as the card is being used. So it's harder to stop that from just constantly rolling.
So do you recommend not using Apple Pay?
I mean, I'm not saying anything against it because just like they were saying, there's security that you could use all the time. The one-time passcode is a great thing. It is there to protect you because only you should need that code if you're doing something. I tell people Ticketmaster is the same way. If you're on Ticketmaster, a big blurb will pop up. It will say, hey, we're going to send you a code. Put it on the screen. That's requiring that code. You know you're going to get it. You know you're going to use it. You should never receive one out of the blue if somebody's asking it. You're not doing anything to need that code. You know, there's no reason for you to be receiving that code unless you are actively making a transaction or putting it into your mobile wallet. You're needing that code. So in that sense, it's fine. There's no issue with the Apple wallets or the Google wallets. It's the code that's the problem that people are just providing. But those are for your eyes only. You never provide that unless you're actively doing something.
Well, I know sometimes on those quick QR codes, you can pull those up, and sometimes they'll have 2 or 3 choices, and you better be watching which choice you get. And you make sure that it's your right choice.
Don't scan the QR codes. Yeah, just don't scan the QR codes. We run into a lot of issues with like downtown parking meters.
Yes.
People will go, they'll scan that QR code when you can just as easily go to your phone app, your app store, look for, you know, I can't remember which one it is. But whatever the app is, they'll usually show you an icon. Passport's one of them. Go through your app store, download it through that so you know you're getting a legitimate app on your phone. And then obviously if you want to upgrade, put your card number in, upgrade the service. But those free apps should never require a card. But the QR codes are going to take you to the website that's going to then reroute you to automatically do the subscription. Yep.
And anyone can make a QR code and send it to an illegitimate site. I mean, and we could make one right now in like 5 seconds. So, I mean, you don't click on don't do the QR code if you can avoid it. It makes it easier, but it's not secure.
So we got a lot of good experts here. So again, there's a lot of us going to be around for quite a while today. We'll go ahead and get up because I know we've been sitting down for a long time. So feel free, no rush to leave. Again, we got, I know I keep saying this, we got food out there. Help yourself to that. It's about lunchtime right now. And again, if you got any questions, come talk to us. Be happy to talk to you for a while. Thank you, guys.